Selamat kembali, anda bersama dengan saya. Okey, dengan saya pada hari ini ialah perwakilan daripada Amerika Syarikat, Mr. Ambassador, Sir David N Saperstein. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did indeed.
Perfectly? Okay, that's good. Alhamdulillah. And welcome to Malaysia.
Well, thank you.
It's your first time?
It is my first time.
Did anybody abuse you in the sense of giving you really hot and spicy food?
I have to say that I love spicy food,
Oh, that's
and
good
therefore this has been heaven food-wise.
Perfect. You've tried our nasi lemak then?
I have not yet, but now you've given me something to do before I leave.
You've got to try it. You really got to try it. It's like one of the main important staple in the morning. Right. Now back to the questions that we want to ask. Right. First and foremost, I've been to the States once. Okay, in 2008, I believe, for a travel program. It's a beautiful country. It's multiracial, just like Malaysia. It's a melting pot. And I find it very interesting. You could see so many different cultures, ethnicity. So my first question is that, how do you maintain the cordial relationship between the different diverse people in the States?
The diversity of America's population is really one of the glories of America. It is one of the extraordinary treasures of American life. So many different people came to America fleeing persecution and oppression in different countries, and came for an opportunity to build their lives for themselves and their families so that their children would have better lives. So we are a mix, probably the most religiously diverse, ethnically diverse, racially diverse country in the history of the world in that regard. And it means we have the benefit of learning from different cultures and being enriched by the cultural contribution that these different groups bring to American life. One of the secrets of it that talks to my work dealing with religious freedom is, in the United States, we do things a little bit different than other democracies. The government stays out of religion entirely. It doesn't help religion, but it is absolutely barred from being in the way of religion. And religion, people in their religious life are able to build their own religions, which flourish with the diversity and strength because of no government control or interference, in a way that works really well for us. And interfaith coalitions and cooperation are extraordinarily strong in America. We're all working together to make America a better country. I think those are some of the key ingredients of what makes it work in the United States.
And I believe that, you know, every country have their own special elements that are unique. And I think that's the unique particle or entity that exists in America, that works for America.
Indeed.
Right. Secondly, because I've, you know, as a journalist, I follow America, and I mean, not only America, every country all around the world, because we talk about, you know, local, domestic, and international issues all the time. One of the things that I would like to know is, how do you maintain the minority? Because we followed closely what happened post-September 11. And as a Muslim, I follow it quite closely. And I, you know, read about issues that cropped up. How do you maintain that? How do you make sure that, you know, these minorities are not persecuted for something that they have not done?
The fundamental concept in the American Constitution and in American culture is that what freedom of religion means is not only the right of people to live openly and freely with their religious lives, but is the idea that one's rights as a citizen would never depend upon their religious identity, their religious practices, their religious beliefs. So our legal system treats everyone equally, and anyone can run for office, anyone can hold any position in the United States, and often to change the cultural patterns that make people comfortable with it take time. But under the law, that is absolutely protected. So we have people holding virtually every position in so many different religions in the United States. After 9/11, there's always a rise and fall. Every country has challenges that they face to make real the promise of their fundamental legal documents and their cultural aspirations. After 9/11, there was a rise of anti-Muslim attitudes in the United States. But the polls were very clear. That never affected the majority of people in the United States. And whenever you saw communities, for example, try to say, well, we don't want a Muslim community building a mosque, you would find the religious leaders of every religious group in America would stand together in a coalition, a national coalition called Shoulder to Shoulder, an English phrase meaning we stand together. So the Shoulder to Shoulder coalition stood up for the right of Muslims to build mosques anywhere that churches or synagogues or Buddhist temples and other houses of worship could be built. And in every case, that prevailed here. So there is, the polls show that the American Muslim community is more integrated into American society, economic, educational, social, cultural society than in any other country where Muslims are a minority. And that's been the secret of America's success with all its groups, and one of the reasons that there's such a robust Muslim community in America.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I was in one mosque, and what was interesting is that they have a basketball competition constantly, and the teams consist of, the Muslim imams and the Jewish rabbis and the Christian padris. So they play together and become very strong as a community. So I think that's basically what...
There's a lot of that, and in the United States, the Jewish community and the Muslim community tend to be very close. Both are minorities who have live in a country that gives them enormous freedom, and they share a lot of religious and cultural ideas. So kosher food that Jews eat, halal food that Muslims eat, they're very similar, and the laws giving them the right to do that. We work together in the United States with different groups standing up for the rights of both Jews and Muslims to have that food. They both practice circumcision, male circumcision for their children, and they have a lot of customs that are the same. So they actually work very closely together in the United States, and the same is true in Europe, where anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim attitudes have brought large segments of the Jewish and Muslim communities together as well.
I met a wonderful lady called Yuta Silverman. She's a producer. I don't know whether you've heard of her.
I don't think I've had the pleasure.
Okay. She did a movie. I watched it here, and I searched for her. What was the message in the movie was that she said that, between a Jew and a Muslim, they're more in common if they believe in religion, and they connect better. So that was what she was promoting. And she said that it's a challenge because that is not the mainstream attitude towards what she was propagating. But alhamdulillah, the rabbi in her community was very supportive. So what do you think? Is that the mindset, or is it slowly changing?
I think that's a very common attitude of a number of the religious minority groups in the country. In all of the interfaith coalitions where they work together in thousands of communities across the United States, they're interfaith coalitions that bring together the Christian communities, Catholic, Protestant communities, but also the Jewish community, Muslim community, Buddhist community, Hindu community, and it's very natural for them to work together, and that includes Jews and Muslims working side by side to address the problems in their community, the problems of schools, the problems of environment, the problems of the homeless and the poor, the social service programs they do together. That is very much a norm in American life, and it's a great model, it seems to me, for the rest of the world, because when we find that people get past talking about each other and problems and actually just doing things together, celebrating holidays together, you build a level of trust and understanding that really helps you get through problem times that inevitably arise in any society. And it's been, again, one of the aspects of American life that has made us live up to the national model of America, the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. And this has been one of the
That's
secrets.
really a beautiful phrase. Right. And finally, we have been following quite closely on the presidential election of Latin America. And there are certain campaigns that is against, I believe, the basic crux of America's democracy when it comes to freedom of rights and especially on the minorities. What is your opinion about it?
Well, I would make 2 points. First, in election campaigns of all kinds, at all levels, in all countries, people can say whatever they want. Here, once they become elected, they're bound by the laws of their land. And the laws of America are absolutely clear. You cannot treat any racial, ethnic, religious group differently simply because they are members of that group than you would treat any other group. And our rule of law constrains even presidents from doing things that would violate the Constitution. And the second is that the fundamental tenet is all groups should be treated the same in these protected categories, and all people are given individual human rights that need to be protected. So treating different minority groups, because it's always minorities who are the ones left out, minority groups is vitally important. And that's one of the messages in my trip here to Malaysia, to urge that all minority groups, minority even Muslim groups and non-Muslim groups, religious groups, that under the law, they all ought to have the same opportunities to live in accordance with their religious conscience. That's what the promise of your Constitution for religious freedom and Article 8's equal protection of different people and different groups holds out. It's enriched so many countries across the world. I see it enriching Malaysia, and I think the stronger their rights are protected, the stronger Malaysia will be.
Thank you very much, sir. It's wonderful having you here. I'm planning to go to the United States next year.
I will see you when they're there.
And if you have some time, we'll take you out for nasi lemak.
You got it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Kita akan rehat seketika, kembali selepas ni.